Hey guys and gals, it's the thing that thing that we do. Why? I don't know. We just do it. I'm Megazard and that's Jad.
Hello,
Uh,
long time listener to Untier Talk.
You do you actually listen back to anything? Because I don't. Not even when I edit.
Nope, never.
Cool. Okay.
I can't stand my own voice. So.
Yeah, me neither. We're gonna be going over the PPL semifinals because yeah, and then we'll talk a little bit about the other stuff that's going on because there's a good amount of other stuff that's going on, but I think we should probably just do the recap first.
Sure, let's do it.
All right, first game. This is Victory Bells versus the Kinglers. FLCL from the Victory Bells versus 49 from the Kinglers. This is quite possibly. Hmm?
Do you want to do it in chronological order? Because I think it makes more sense, like the context of the
Yeah.
week we do it.
Now that it's just the 1 week, we can actually go in chronological order, and that was definitely not the first. So this is 8 games. The winner of which goes to the finals of PUPL. The first game was, let's see, Haysup versus TSR. Haysup for the Victory Bells and TSR for the Kinglers.
Mm-hmm.
It's the DPP one, so definitely not our most learned gen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I actually thought I was pretty impressed with Haysup overall.
Yeah, he does that.
Yeah, he's not. He's one of the most like pro people in the DPP pool, and I don't necessarily think he's gotten a lot of chances to really just stand out and flex, I guess. But I was pretty impressed with this game overall. I thought he played quite well and just
sure.
kind of bodied TSR just with really, really strong play.
Uh-huh. What stood out to me? Go on.
I was just gonna say if you watch the replay, I think you'll instantly kind of get that impression from just like, hey, he's got really good predicts and play unlock here.
Yeah, I think overall you said it's pretty accurate. I think the key thing that stood out to me was how much a bit more like confident he was just to sack the clearly turn one for one there of spike, and the full knowing that he could play offensively in the late game to make sure that spike counts.
Oh, for sure. He really forced a lot of switches pretty well to use that spike and made some key predictions like ice beaming the Victory Bell switch in really early, just getting rid of that mon that pretty much broke his whole team. Stuff like that.
Very nice.
The game definitely came down to like a close-ish like mons count.
Yeah.
But overall, I think he definitely had a pretty strong lock on it. Even if, like, at the very end, it might have been possible for TSR to, like, double to Monferno, and then I don't know if Zatu can ever beat Murkrow, but that might have been a thing that he could have done.
Yeah, potentially. I believe most Zatu was Scarf. But this one obviously wasn't because it showed Roost.
Yeah, this one roosted, so I'm assuming not.
Yeah, I
so
Monferno was Scarf.
If it no, I'm almost certain it was choiced Monferno. Scarf makes sense here. So I'm wondering, the game didn't really feel like he was in that much trouble, but I'm actually thinking, like looking back, can Zatu beat the Murkrow? Like if Murkrow can only hit it with Sucker, what if he just spams Roost and waits for Haysup to kill himself? I don't know what Murkrow run in this gen, so.
Yeah, I believe it's like Pursuit, Sucker, Brave Bird, HP Grass, something along those lines, or like HP Fighting to hit.
Yeah, let me run a DVP calc real quick.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting proposition. I don't know necessarily how much, because I think the Murkrow could have killed itself via that Brave Bird plus Life Orb recall. If that's not the case, I don't think they run Dark Pulse at least, so
no.
That would be the only real, like, risk.
According to this calc, if Zatu is just like max HP and no defense, Brave Bird's doing like 73 min and Pursuit's doing 50 min.
That's a lot.
Yeah. So that seems pretty good. That like even if TSR had made that double at the end, I think Murkrow possibly could beat Zatu, but we've not said wholly accurate things about DPP in the past. So I guess I don't know. Haste I thought played really well, but I guess when part of your playing well requires some like you said, like the early Glalie sack, playing really offensively with things like Dragonair, I suppose you still get into that kind of like close, dangerous situation there.
Yeah, this is like I guess the risk or the inconsistencies with running like straight up hyper often. Because Haste Up did indeed win this game, but there was a small window, even though TSR's matchup wasn't really like there. Like there was a small window for TSR to like win the game, and I feel like that's usually the problem. The problem, the problem when you have people bringing straight up hyper offense.
For sure. Do we want to jump into JMash versus Lighthouses?
No, but we can.
Really, you didn't like this game?
No, I didn't like this game, to be honest. I feel like the thing with JMash is that whenever he plays games, I feel like, okay, JMash has a really good matchup. He should win this game easily. And then loads of stuff happens in the middle, and then he wins by like 2% by like getting a min roll or something. You know what I mean? Like that's more like a broad generalization of how he plays. But I feel like this game sort of reaffirmed that in my head almost.
I agree. And the worst part is like I don't even know that I could say he played. I don't know that I could say he played absolutely awfully, but there were a couple times. There were a couple times where he did genuinely like make some really good plays for his Lighthouse. Like very early on, he makes 2 solid doubles to knock off Lighthouse's Tangela to make sure that his Stoutland will get a kill every time it comes in. Hey, that was pretty nice. Yeah. But then for the next like 20 turns or so, he's pretty much like getting doubled on, outplayed by Lighthouses, who's killing things with Drampa, who's knocking him off, and the whole time Stoutland never comes in again. Which is just
that was my
so weird.
Yeah, that was my biggest concern, is that he could have pivoted in Stoutland on so many occasions via like Mesprit U-turning or just like a simple double, but he never pulled the trigger. And what scared me is that he played very well in like the initial 5 turns to do like what he needed to do to make sure Stoutland won, right? And then proceeded for the next 20 to 25 turns to play completely around the thing, not around the thing which he supported in the first place, which sort of confused me. And I do think he should have won so much more convincingly after, especially that like opening break.
Yeah, I completely agree. So here's actually the actual turn count. So he makes multiple good doubles and knocks off the Tangle at turn 5. Now Stoutland's going to get a kill. And I'm like, okay, he's got the good... He had that's a good game plan to have. But then he's never bring... But then for the next several turns, he doesn't bring in Mesprit at all. There's no pivots. There's no doubles. And the next time Stoutland comes in is on turn 24, which is after Amon has been KO'd. Or no, I'm sorry. It's off a U-turn, but after Lighthouse's Mon has been KO'd, and he gets a free switch into Stoutland. Like, it finally comes in 20 turns later, and it's specifically after a KO, so Lighthouse chooses exactly what gets to come in. And it's just a testament to how good of a matchup Stoutland had, that Lighthouses didn't have any switch-ins that would actually 1v1 it. He was forced to sack Floatzel for damage. That's a problem.
Yeah, and also something that I don't necessarily respect is that Floatzel gets low kick, right? And you know it's going to be some sort of variety like Focus Blast or like low kick, choice band low kick.
Yeah.
Isn't there like a window of opportunity for potentially the Floatzel to KO the Stoutland as well? And it's like, of all places that you want to bring in your Stoutland, you want to bring it on like the Skunk or the Hitmonchan, even though you take huge recoil or you might take a Mach Punch. Those are your like prime opportunities, so to speak. Especially Drampa. Like you should have been baiting the Drampa to come in with the Tangela and then bringing in Stoutland as like on a double, you know, or potentially like on a sack from Drampa. That's where you should have been like baiting it, but he never ended up doing it.
No, Drampa
because
Draco'd the Hitmonchan multiple times to kill the Hitmonchan. It came in on Tangela again. Um, and then he like literally just sacked Tangela to it, then to get in Stoutland to kill it. And at that point, it's like a
yeah,
very close late game scenario that kind of came down to like if Lighthouses had hard Skuntanked instead of trying to stay in Hitmonchan play with like a bunch of 50-50s, maybe he would have won.
yeah,
That
exactly.
should not have been so close whatsoever, but
Yeah, I mean, he won the game, so I mean, you can't really knock it, but I mean, there is like a point where you have to question the efficiency behind the plays.
yeah.
Um,
And to be fair, we've
yeah,
been critiquing him a lot more than Lighthouses. I still think Lighthouse's team is a little his only
dog
real
shit.
yeah, so his
I think that's
fast
the word.
Mons, here's the thing that annoys me the most, regardless of like the defensive flaws, like how Stoutland is just a huge threat. Um his two fast Mons are Floatzel and Scarf Scumtank, neither of which are all that fast, and more critically, like neither of which are all that reliable at actually like wanting to click moves. So
The damage output is pitiful between
yeah,
those two
when
in
you want to
particular, which is where
when
Drampa
you
comes
want to
in.
revenge kill something, A, are you going to be able to kill it? B, are you going to be super abusable if you do like have to go in and hit the buttons? Like neither of those are great at just clicking moves.
Hmm. Yeah,
That part really just, I don't know. I feel like something like J Mash's team with that just offensive pressure shouldn't really be all that threatened. But yeah, Lighthouse brought some weird stuff. I think he played like the middle game. He started out getting pretty outplayed early on. Getting Tangela knocked off sucked for facing Stoutland, but then he started playing better, and critically, J Mash never, brought the Stoutland in. So he mostly
yeah,
after the Tangela got knocked off, I don't have any major critiques of what he did.
yeah. I'm gonna put down to letting Tangela get knocked off either by like, um, J-Mash is kind of weak to a Lola Slash, so maybe he'll want HP Fire, and maybe he can't afford to run um, knockoff. But I think that's a flawed way of thinking. Um, I do think maybe he might have been saving Drampa, but even then, I do think that wasn't necessary, given how good Drampa was just in general, even without triple specs.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, I think apart from, I'm just going to put it down to inexperience. I think that's the most likely, denominator there.
Well, his own
But
Tangela was also knockoff. They traded
yeah,
knockoffs, but J-Mash
but
definitely benefited more from it.
yeah, for sure. Because even a knocked off like Tangela can easily take on choice banded floats of like no problem, even if it has ice punch. So I'm not too like happy that he made that play. But I mean, you know, he played the rest of the game like quite well to bring it close, given that he had a pretty horrid matchup from the Stoutland. So he did well in that respect, but I do think his team probably needs to be a bit better to give him like better odds in this one.
Mm-hmm, for sure. So that put the series at 1-1. And then we had, in quick succession on Saturday morning, yeah, right back to back. False versus Pearl first. This being the Oras PU game. False really dominating this one pretty hard with apparently an old Slowbroth team that he dumped at some point.
Yeah,
Not something you would expect, especially. This was really weird. The game started out with False's Frogadier. Like, False brings a T-spiked Frogadier. Basically just lets it get 1v1 with by Prinplup when Pearl has a T-spikes absorber in the back. So, like, it does. Like, he basically sacks the Frog to get Prinplup down to, like, 30%. And then, that's not great for your hyper offense lead, especially when T-spikes aren't very useful. But then he literally just goes sub Grumpig and murders Pearl.
yeah. Basically, that's the thing that I didn't like about Pearl's team. When I was looking at it, I was thinking, this looks incredibly weak. If the Grumpig is like sub Carmine, like a timid Grumpig with sub Carmine, the set that they used to run back in the day.
Yeah.
I do think that set's incredibly good at Aura specifically, because there's not really much that can switch into Psychic plus Focus.
Well, just
So
overall, Grumpig
yeah,
week, Mr. Mime week, even Duosion could probably be an issue. This like Poniard as
Mr. Mime makes a
one
good point.
Poniard is one psychic check is not a bad start, but it's quad week to fighting. You need more than just that, and the rest of his team just doesn't handle that well. There's a few other
Yeah,
cases like this. So just in general, strong special attackers like Swanna would be a real pain in the ass for Pearl's team. It's kind of
yeah,
just
sure.
it's slow and it's much more physically bulky in kind of a weird way. I don't know, but yeah, False literally just goes sub Grumpig, subs up as Poniard comes in. Pearl doesn't sucker because mind games and just dies to Focus Blast. Grumpig basically he gets to kill the Arbok, then he gets to kill the Golem. Like Grumpig just killed 3 things. That's
Yeah, yeah,
and then Paul and
yeah.
then
Grumpig.
False wins.
Yeah, that's basically it. I mean, Grumpig is a huge threat, and I do think Pearl's team could have benefited from a much more stable special tank, like somewhere on that team, rather than another offensive threat. I question how much Pawniard was necessary. I feel like it could have been like a much more reasonable special tank that could have filled that void, and
Hmm.
to take on like Grumpig and as the aforementioned Mr. Mime. So yeah, I think Pearl kind of screwed himself with that team.
Yeah. Also, even if Grumpig had not done that, Ninetales also would have been a ridiculous threat. Um, like it
Um,
literally it kills Golem, it kills Arbok, it kills Leafeon. The only
yeah,
faster mon is a Scarf Rotom Frost when False has 2
yeah,
electric immunities on his team. That's a
yeah.
yikes from
I,
me, bub.
yeah, yeah. I don't think that's yeah. The more things you can point about the team, like there's clear weaknesses in it. I don't think it was the best selection to
Yeah.
bring versus False.
False had a great matchup, but this felt more like Pearl kind of dropping the ball there. Which is funny because
Yeah,
False didn't even build his own team, whereas I would think Pearl built this, but I actually don't know, so
yeah,
maybe not.
yeah. So
Anyway, that was False versus Pearl, so Victory Bell's up 2-1, and then we had Rob Jr. versus Gum. Oh boy, this I lied. This was probably the worst game. Not probably. This just was the worst game. Starting out, so I think we can both agree on some key facts.
yeah,
Rob Jr.'s team really fucking needs hazard control. The way it has no hazard control and all these really hazard weak and hazard baiting and mons that like get spiked on, that's pretty bad. Agree?
yep, 100%.
I think we can agree even with that. Maybe the matchup's a little evenish at least because
Yeah,
if he can keep spikes off, it's not that terrible for him, and Guzzlord's can be a pretty solid threat. Would you agree with
yep,
that? Would you agree
yep. I
that
agree with that.
Gum like put herself in a great situation and then just completely dropped the ball? Like,
Wait, you mean through the game, like completely?
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's basically what happened, isn't it?
yeah. I think those are just the basic facts of this game. Turn 4. Gum has rocks and 2 spikes up, literally just at the cost of Frostlass. Everything else is like almost full health, very healthy. Rob Jr. has rocks up, but like you have rocks and 2 spikes. The team has no removal. Everything is super vulnerable to them. It's a fat team. It's relatively pretty slow. It's Scarf Primate, then the next fastest mon is a Mesprit. You're looking great here. And
Yeah,
then
100%.
Gum loses Stoutland and a Alolan Sandslash to a Guzzlord that would have just been death fodder. And it's like, that's just...
That's a really poor mistake in my opinion because first of all, when you bring in your offensive threat, you need to make sure this is like basic fundamental Pokemon. Yeah, you need to make sure that what you're bringing in to revenge kill that thing can kill it, right? And if you don't, like, I'm sure Superpower would have killed. Like I see no problem with Gum clicking Superpower there. You lose nothing from doing so. All you do is end up baiting in the Mudsdale, which has already done its job by getting up the Stealth Rock. So
Absolutely.
like at worst, the Mesprit comes in, and even then you have your own Mesprit to come in and pivot in a U-turn. So
Well,
I
you're
see
not going
no
to switch
reason.
your Mesprit into their Mesprit because their Mesprit's defensive and it's just going to click U-turn.
Yeah, so like you have so many options at that point. Like you still have options
For sure.
even if you click superpower, and a good amount of options as well. What you don't do is you don't sack your Stoutland that has a ridiculous matchup, given that there's no normal resist and there's so many passive ones on that team. And you don't sack your Scarf a Lola Slash. I'm going to say sack in quotation air marks because she shouldn't have missed the air slash in the first place. But
the Icicle Crash. Yeah, that's so basically Stoutland comes into Guzzlord. Guzzlord's pretty definitely just going to get death foddered here. Rob Jr. said he had not, he was definitely just sacking it. Stoutland frustrations instead of superpowers doesn't kill and then dies, and then Gum goes a little in Sand Slash, misses Icicle Crash, and dies to a crit Fire Blast. That probably didn't matter because it was only at -1 because it had some Beast Boost.
Yeah, I don't think it mattered. I think what did matter is that.
Oh no, I'm sorry, it was at neutral. I'm stupid.
Yeah, I think the risking of the Icicle Crash was a cocky play. It was like, I'm not going to miss Icicle Crash, so I'm going to click Icicle Crash. And then you miss Icicle Crash, and you're like, well, oh shit, I just missed Icicle Crash.
Yeah. Given that it was Scarf, right? There was really no harm in using a different move. I don't think Rob Jr. would expect Scarf. If he goes Primate, you're forced out anyway, and if he goes anything else, what's he going to? Both Stoutland and Slash are going to be your best breakers here, because they do the work. And I think afterwards Gum had said she wasn't able to calc and kind of just thought frustration would kill, which I don't know, and B, she did think that there was a chance that he'd switch, and he didn't. But yeah, I think that's all we can say on that. It was just really turn 4, great position. Turn 6, you lost.
Yeah, that's basically what happened. Which is kind of unfortunate because I've been crying out for a lot of people to just bring Hazards, like a good Hazards strong offense versus Rob Jr. I don't particularly like Gum's team because I feel like it's a bit weak to Tangela, given that if that team had Hazard's control, Gum would have lost that way.
For sure.
But I respect the Hazards bringing, and I respect the double dog entirely. But I don't think, I think we're in agreement that the correct plays weren't.
I think that's all we can do on that. So that put the victory bells up
3-1.
Yeah, 3-1. Thank you. Trying to do the math, and that brings us into all of the Sunday games. The 4 Sunday games. First one, Watchog versus Raichi. This was a little bit of a funny game. Raichi's got another team that has real PU Pokemon, and then Watchog has this Teddy team, which is like this Natu Golem squad. It's one of those Teddy things. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, this team is insane, like the Teddy's team, because it's Sash offense. That's like the guise of it. So he has the standard Stoutland, but he has Sturdy Golem.
Yeah, Sturdy Golem, Sash Jinx, Sash Frostlass,
and Sash Omastar as well. Yeah. So there's so many Sashes on that team.
Yeah, with the Natu to try to keep the hazards off, and it's a very silly hyper offense team. I don't know how well it would have worked against I really can't judge how well it works against most teams. But versus this one specifically, a bit of an issue with Raichi is just that Omastar was a real big threat here.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know too much about Raichi, but I have no idea why he didn't pivot into the Electros. Was the Electros at full health?
The Electros was at 40. The Electros was at
no idea why.
46% before Rocks. The issue was, correct me if I'm wrong, Scarf Primeape is faster than Omastar, right? The one
at +2, yeah.
Yeah, the one thing that you can't do is you can't immediately trigger the weak armor. You what Raichi needs to do is, instead of stone edging the Omastar, he needs to go Electros, force the Omastar to kill him, so he's only at +2, and then go Primeape. Normally, at least. The thing is here, because it's Sash Omastar, it pretty much just wins because Primeape can't revenge kill it. He can't U-turn out because that'll activate weak armor. So, like, this really...
Yeah, so
Sash Omastar was just going to murder this team. As long as it just came in on the Kabutops, that was it.
And got smash off. Yeah, I mean, it's an unfortunate scenario. I do think Raichi sort of misplayed by using Electros when they didn't need to. Like they could have used a plethora of other things to revenge kill the Jinx. I believe it's what they wasted it on.
Yeah.
So better to keep your Electros alive and make sure you have that Omastar like default check. Maybe Raichi was thinking that the Electros couldn't check the Omastar because it might have been Waterium.
Well, he also just, like, there's not a lot of options versus Jinx. It's a hard mon to deal with. What I would have thought is that he just didn't expect Omastar to be Sash and was planning to kill it with the Primeape, which, like, since you only have one mon that needs to hit it with the physical attack, that's pretty reasonable. But then A, you use Kabutops, and then B, you activate weak armor. So then what? Did he realize that it was Sash, or I don't even know.
Yeah, at that point you don't even know because it could be anything as soon as you commit at that point.
If he wasn't expecting Sash, then he made a really massive misplay stone edging it. Like absolutely no reason. Like you have to go hard heal if you're not expecting Sash. If you are expecting Sash, then you know you're kind of screwed. So I guess you just hope it's not and go hard heal anyway. I don't know what the stone edge on the Omastar was.
Yeah, I think that was a choke on that regard. But yeah, Omastar looked like a really filthy, had a really filthy matchup this game. I believe, like, even to be honest, the Frostlass did after a while. Like as soon as the Electros got weakened, the choice Scarf Frostlass was looking really good.
Oh yeah, sorry, Scarf Frostlass. I said it was Sash at one point.
Yeah. So the Scarf Frostlass that also looked incredibly good in the late game. So
yeah,
see that sweeping if the Omastar didn't like take down as many Pokemon as we saw.
Yeah, like I said, I can't super judge how well this team would do, how well like this weird hyper offense Sash spam would do against most teams, but versus this team, it was definitely going to be tough, and then nothing really went Raichi's way. So that was a win for the Kinglers to put it back to 3-2, still in favor of the Victory Bells. Then we had FLCL versus 49, which I think I also called not a great game. 49 had a really, really weird team. Maybe even like weirder than the Sash spam and stuff, and that like I at least kind of get what that was going for. I don't know what 49 was going for. Like,
yeah,
this is just really odd. It's in some way built around the Executor supposed to be sweeping, but then as it has Spike's Quillfish, it's got Absol and Aggron as breakers, and it's just very offensive. But then, in terms of defensive synergy, it's got very little. But it also doesn't necessarily. It's not fast. It's fat. It's got a Scarf Rotom, and then the fastest mon is Absol, and then Quillfish, and then the fastest mon is Quillfish. Sorry, and then Absol, and then like. By turn 4, turn 3, FLCL sends out Electros. 49 has nothing for it. He literally sacks his Rotom just to trick it, a Scarf, to make it a little bit less threatening. Like, he didn't really have stuff to do because his team was just weird as shit.
Yeah. FLCL's team kind of looks like a team that I would build, and
yeah,
I respect that because I think that team looks pretty good, I would say. So good job with whoever built that team. Looks pretty decent, whether it's FLCL or otherwise. As far as 49's team is concerned, I feel like it's literally 6 offensive mons plonked together on a team and said, okay, here's Quillfish, go Lurk, and I'll put 4 offensive mons, here we go. And I don't feel like the synergy was truly there.
Truly there? I don't know it was there in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, and it's kind of disappointing almost in that aspect because I was hoping for a much more like close game, and I think the offense call like with the straight up like Spikes offense was a good call versus FLCL specific because FLCL defaults to balance. So in a semi-final, I do think FLCL would have played a balanced team, but I don't agree with the just the I guess we can call it a lackadaisical like build. It's not got so much synergy that
And I am pretty sure the way Manny was talking that 49 did build this, and they're kind of willing to go like, well, it's 49. He's probably gonna make a good thing, and he is a very good builder and player. This one I just think completely missed the mark. Whereas like FLCL's team does have it is 6 standard mons, but it also does have some kind of different stuff that I appreciate, like the way the it's Quillfish plus Frostlass with presumably like Quillfish being spikes, opening up more experimentation with just purely offensive Frostlass, which I think is pretty cool. Like that, I don't know, that worked out a lot better for him. So that's 4-2 in favor of the Victory Bells now. So Kinglers need to win both to pull out a tie. And the next game that happens is Lax versus Robert Alphonse. I wasn't looking forward to this one because Shinotic did a lot of work. It was pretty good here. it was a strong Shinotic. It did good.
Yeah, I mean, Shinotic, it did enough to do, like, it was like a weird set. It wasn't like a standard spec set, and I think that threw Robert Alphonse off a little bit, given that, the set wasn't like the standard Shinotic set.
Yeah, it was Spore Moonblast something, non-choice.
Yeah, and so I felt like Robert Alphonse was constantly on the back foot, making weird-ish plays, and then obviously he got screwed over massively by a Fire Blast miss.
Yeah.
Which I think would have changed the game heavily, which was unfortunate, but sometimes that happens in ones.
Not
was
just
especially bad, to be honest, because that was such a big move, because basically he loses his Frostlass as a result, and then Primeape has to come in to revenge kill. Primeape's not really the greatest thing to revenge kill.
Yeah, not just his Frostlass, his Guzzlord. Like, he leaves Guzzlord in on the Alolan Sandslash to do the trade. He doesn't get the trade. Lax still has the Alolan Sandslash. It's really problematic. And I want to say, not even just that, but there was also a point slightly later where Skuntank flinches his Regirock with Dark Pulse. And, like, normally you wouldn't think one Regirock flinch isn't that big. But when Robert Alphonse is looking for a Silvally Fairy sweep, something that's like very doable, looking at what Lax is running, or at least Silvally Fairy, like once you've gotten missing your Dark Pulse like that, you need some, like that needed to be his win con. Not being able to chip the Skuntank right there, so that he got to stay at full health and check the Silvally Fairy one more time, definitely sucked for him. Just definitely sucked.
Yeah. It was just wholly unfortunate, the entire game, to be honest, because I think, based on what the game was turning out, I do think that a combination of the SD Silvally Fairy and Primeape would have ended up winning that game, given that given that Mesprit wasn't really defensive and that Shinotic was this weird set, obviously. So he didn't have too much in terms of like a long-term vision as for like a fighting resist. So I do see like SD like Silvally Fairy breaking for Primeape. It was just as I said, it was hugely unfortunate, like the outcome of that game. I think it would have been cool to see what would happen otherwise, though.
For sure. Sorry, I had to take some allergy medication. Anyway, yeah. It just kind of sucked for him. And that's not to say I don't think this was guaranteed. I think he was still a bit hamstrung by the fact that the Smash Caracosta was going to be an issue. It put in a lot of work versus his team. mostly because Primate is supposed to be the revenge killer who dies to Aquajet. That's a yikes. And also just due to even Girder, like your Silvally Fairy needs to be doing the wall breaking stuff, but that's inherently going to leave it a bit weakened. And that also needs to be your primary Girder check because like the rest of your team pretty much all die to it. So I don't know that I would have favored Robert Alphonse. I don't know that I'd say I think he was going to win with the Fairy Volley plus the Primate, especially since it was U-turn on the Silvally Fairy, not like a Flame Charge set that can sweep on its own. So
it could have been Flame Charge. We don't know that.
Yeah, okay. SDU turn multi-attack Flame Charge. Okay, maybe. That definitely might have helped, that ability to sweep there, but still, like, the issues with Girder plus Costa, I don't know that Robert Alphonse would have been better, but it could have been a lot more even, and I don't think he ever really had a chance.
Yeah, I mean, I think the game would have been much more even, as you said. I think potentially we could have ended up seeing Costa sweep just as much as we could have seen the Silvally Fairy sweep. But I feel like this game, as compared to other ones, we got more so robbed of like a really close game.
Yeah, like it could have been nice. It could have been the star game of the week. But,
yeah, sure.
So that put it 4-3. This next game determines if the Victory Bells win, then they go to finals, and if the Kinglers win, then there's a tiebreak. And you guys, I'm sure you already know what happened. But the last game, CB Aaron Judge versus Serene Grace. This is the black-white time, and
okay. Do I have permission to get close to the microphone?
Yeah, I have actually got to go for less than a minute. So if you want to say whatever you want, be my guest.
Hold on. You have to be here though.
No,
what I have to say.
Okay.
Why the fuck is a fucking slacking doing that? What the fuck is a slacking doing that?
You guys were warned, so I'm not gonna edit it out. If you lost your ears, this is why you don't listen to our podcast. Anyway, I'm going to leave for less than a minute. You can say whatever you want, and I won't be around to hear it.
Okay, guys. Congratulations. We have finally got rid of Bippy. So now I'm going to talk to you in detail about how Serene Grace did not select the correct team to win a PUPL semi-final game, which is extremely important for his team. I don't think it's... Okay, maybe it's not entirely down to the slack selection, but I feel like his team tries to be an offense team that falls kind of short in terms of something which I think is kind of key, black-white, which is damage output. If you look at CB Aaron Judge's team, lots of damage output. There's huge amounts, because when something gets up hazards or basically doesn't attack, you need to be there to abuse it with as much damage as possible. So the safest way, obviously, to do this is just to stack a team with offensive pressure. When you do that, like, you punish every turn. Like, if you try to set up or you try to do anything fancy like a T-wave or something,
right,
you're there to pick up the kill. But with Serene Grace's team, your highest damage output comes from slacking, which immediately afterwards gives either a free setup or a free switch, or the Bannet, which, like, its main stab is Shadowfall, which is pitifully weak. So you're looking for a priority swap at that point. So when you're looking for that, like when you're looking for Bannet, usually you support it with other big wall breakers to support a Shadow Sneak's fleet. But that never ended up like serializing because there wasn't any damage output. Like when your damage output is slacking, if it was Stoutland, for example, I could actually respect that team a little bit more, because when you have Stoutland, like you're bringing in, like as a fast Pokemon, you can bring it on a Beheeyem, for example, and click Frustration in the same way slacking you can with slacking, and the next turn you're not a complete setup order, like you're not a complete free win at that point.
So it seems like what you're talking about is the fact that like Serene Grace's team looks good and looks like it has a lot of strong, scary bonds, but actually has like these kind of underlying flaws of what is it actually meant to do.
Pretty much. I just said slacking might have been the worst selection for a PPL semi-final of all time.
Yeah.
In a black-white tier, especially. Like, I can respect it in SM or even Oras, to be honest, because there's many ways to pick up momentum in those tiers. Like in Ores, you have Volt Turn, like tons of Volt Turn Pokemon. In SM, you have, again, many Volt Turn Pokemon, and the Pokemon that are checking slacking aren't, like, full on resists almost. Like, you can EQ them or Focus Punch them or whatever, and they don't have recovery to take you on later. So that's fine. You can, like, recover all of it with Volt Turn. But in Black-White, you can't do that. There's no Volt Turn in Black-White. It's literally clicking attacks for, like, 20 turns, and then somebody wins. So I wholeheartedly disagree with the slacking selection. I think it's pretty tragic, and I'd say that because the team relies on slacking a lot for its breaking power, so to speak, the team falls flat on its face because that's its only damage output. You need loads of damage output in Black-White for it to work. Like, his next most strong one is like Banner. You know what I mean?
I agree, but let's not totally rehash the same points. I got the tail end of that. Just having my allergies acting me up a little bit. I agree. Grace's team just has problems, and it really didn't help that slacking turn 1 just gets like traded for CB Aaron Judge's BM, with CB Aaron Judge also getting the switch initiative. That's even before Serene Grace completely misses a Hydro Pump on CB Aaron Judge's Stoutland, that would have helped a lot to, have the Stoutland die. Even before that, you've lost a lot of offensive momentum and breaking power, and I would not have favored Serene Grace in any way to win the game. The combination of Monferno, Jumpluff, and Golduck just being really annoying, especially when you consider that, Serene Grace has to revenge kill everything with the Zeb Strika that is completely walled by the Stunfisk. It's a harsh setup there, but the fact is, CB Aaron Judge also dodged a Hydro Pump, got his let his Stoutland stay at full health for free, pick up multiple kills after that, really snowballed the game in his favor very hard. But I don't know how Serene Grace was meant to win.
Yeah, basically that. I don't see the huge plot behind the team. I don't see what it was trying to do, apart from, oh, hi, I'm going to use slacking, and because you're not having a normal resist, I'm going to get some kills. But wouldn't Stoutland be, so much better of a solution for that same problem? At that point, you can bring it in on just as many Pokemon, and you don't lose the momentum at the end of the turn every single time.
I completely agree. And yeah, the rest of the game was pretty whatever. Yeah, CB Aaron Judge also got a dodge that helps. Serene Grace had one good prediction, and for the most part, kind of just died.
Yeah, that's not to say Serene Grace played badly as a player. From a player's perspective, given that team, let's say he was past that team, I do think he played not that badly, given the situation he was put in. So I don't want to critique him too much, just in case he didn't build that team, so somebody else built that team, in which case that person needs to be heavily blamed for that loss. But yeah, this is what I was fearing, because CB Aaron Judge, this is what I was fearing last week, when I was talking about CB Aaron Judge, because, yeah, he just feels like a more rounded player in general. He doesn't have to bother with this type of stuff.
Yeah, so he picks up the win. Victory Bells win 5-3, and now we have PUPL finals, the Dens versus Victory Bells, and I'm pretty excited for when these games happen. It's really weird in that the Dens have been a lot more dominant and come off a lot more stronger in this PUPL, but when you physically straight up compare the lineups side by side, I don't know that they look better. They look about equal, if anything, slightly favoring the Victory Bells in just individual players. But the Dens have come a lot farther on, having really, I think, more consistent teams, a better idea of, having game plans and what they're doing, and have been ridiculously dominant in the group stages. Whereas Victory Bells still have been more like the other teams, more not completely consistent and dominant, but a little more hit or miss. Sometimes things work out, and they're still a very strong team, but sometimes things don't work out. And I think they need to hit that consistency in order to have a chance against the Dedens. Unless the Dedens completely crash and burn, but that's not something I expect.
Yeah, hit or miss. I had to do that for LST, sorry. But yeah, this is a close week. I personally rate Vactron's team probably at number 2, given that I probably thought the Misdreavuses or the Haunters were probably a better semi-final match. I do think we kind of got robbed in that sense, because I don't think the Kinglers deserve to be in finals just based on their players.
Well, let's clarify that a little bit. I don't think the Kinglers were a stronger team, but they performed better. They literally had the wins to get into semifinals, so the other teams didn't, then oh well. But I do agree that wasn't a great semis week. The one really good game, Robert Alphonse versus Lax, had some really unfortunate stuff to kind of cut short what looked like it would have been a lot closer. So
yeah, I do think this finals week should be really good. I do think it's like number 1 versus number 2. I don't think that's like a dispute, something people are willing to dispute. So it should be really close. I do think, well, obviously I'm going to favour my team. I do think we have the building thing a bit more down than Robert Alphonse's team does. So it's really going to come down to, like, can the building trend continue? Can we continue to pump out good, solid teams that win games?
I agree. And also, can Durza Off Topic beat Haseup, given that Durza Off Topic has either won every game or been haxed and completely deserved to win every game, whereas Haseup has not done that? Definitely going to be a bit of a hot topic there.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's PPL. Looking forward to it, and we'll recap it next week. Open's still chugging along, but obviously the biggest thing is that we're recording this on a Monday and not on a normal Sunday, which means that tier shifts happened earlier today.
Mm-hmm.
Tier shifts are a really big topic, and I don't think we can completely get into them. I know you could talk for way longer than anyone wants to hear you talk about Cinccino. From personal experience, I know, and you've been especially long-winded on the black-white game. I know you could go on for a very long time. So I think maybe we should keep it slightly briefer than that.
I will give you one sentence on Cinccino. How about that?
Okay.
Cinccino wins games. It just does.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree. So Cinccino and Mega Abomasnow, neither of them are 100%, they just kill everything and are completely busted and absolutely unfair, in the same way that Sock was just really stupid, or Gallade, right? Or Charizard, or Tauros.
Yeah.
But the ways that you beat them are not healthy from a very early look, and still, this is day 1. I haven't actually played games myself, just taking a look at them and have the experience. How do you beat Cinccino? Lots of predictions, having few and not great revenge killers for it, and then Rocky Helmet and chip damage, as opposed to being able to generate really solid game plans or having counters that you can switch in. That's not great. That's not great for the tier. How to beat Mega Abomasnow? It's pretty much always going to get a kill or turn games to 50-50s for how you can switch in. You just have to keep up a lot of offensive pressure on a Mon that's pretty fat and can pretty much always trade. Plus, Sword Stance might be a whole thing on itself. Neither of those sound very healthy for the tier. By next week, next time we record, we will have done a quick vote. We will have seen if we want to quick ban these. Right now, I do need to play with them, but the ways that you beat them don't really sound good.
Yeah. People usually don't like it when I jump to conclusions. And I don't want to jump to conclusions normally. But how things are played in the games that I have played with it, in the new spec, is Cinccino makes every turn a 50-50 given King's Rock, or it doesn't really have a whole ton of good switch-ins. Sure, you have Mudsdale, but Mudsdale doesn't have recovery and is weak to Bullet Seed. Even though you get stamina after a while, it's not really something that you want to be consistently switching in. Regirock and all the other normal resists either die to Bullet Seed or Focus Blast. So that's not very good. And you can't really check it offensively without using Scarfers, and Scarfers are inherently flawed because you're locking yourself into a move.
Yeah.
So that's not very good either. Mega Abomasnow, on the other hand, I feel like it's Guzzlord, but on an elevated level. I feel like it's like Guzzlord, but Draco, like Blizzard is more like Draco Meteor that doesn't miss and it doesn't reduce special attack. Giga Drain is like Dark Pulse, but recovers Mega Abomasnow a little bit, and it has like Ice Shard as priority, and and then you also have like the Sword Stance set, as you said, which was really, really scary, given if like there's not really many things you can do to take it on. Like you have to check it offensively somehow, which is not going to be easy with Ice Shard being the thing. So
I agree. I'd also like to briefly mention a couple other things surrounding him. First, we lost Mesprit. That's a whole thing. I do wish we had Mesprit, although some people have been like, yeah, Combine was getting a little annoying. I kind of understand that. But the combination of those two mons, plus losing Mesprit, plus gaining Ferroseed, has strong potential to really turn PU into a completely spikes-based meta. Both of those mons gain hugely from spikes and are also hugely hindered by spikes. Like, spikes do a lot for them, given how many switches they force into predominantly spikes-weak Pokemon, and also, the best ways to beat them are applying a constant, significant amount of offensive pressure that, like, the spikes will be chipping away at them, especially Chinchino, which, spikes, plus, like, Scarfer Chip, plus potential Life Orb, plus getting a helmet on it, that's, like, kind of what you would like to do to beat it. Not only that, but Spikers also check these mons. Frostlass is a bit of an Abomasnow check, in that Abomasnow can't kill it with Ice Shard. It can kind of maybe fit into Blizzard, then Never-Ending Nightmare or something. Ferroseed, obviously, bit of a Chinchino check. They'll probably run HP Fire or something, but that still causes predictions. Quillfish Helmet is annoying for Chinchino. Probably can even run Poison Jab at this point because Abomasnow is just going to be that big. So I really see Spikes just kind of coming into their own if these guys stick around PU. So definitely pretty worried at first glance.
I'd say you're entirely right to be worried, but I do think, especially with Mesprit leaving, I do think this is an extremely viable scenario to put forward to potentially stopping quick rises be a thing, or rises in general, to be honest, because it really messes with a tier's development and growth, especially considering Mesprit is a huge element of our tier, and having it rise to NU really screws with the balance that we already have sort of been building for the last year or so. And to see it go away, it's not very good for the tier.
I think that's absolutely a discussion worth having, but probably not here and now.
Probably not here. That's probably deserved some random thread on Smoker.
Yeah, but this is something that will certainly get discussed. Is there anything else before we wrap up?
Gimmick corner, I guess.
Into Gimmick corner, then.
Hi, Megazord. Do you like it?
Well, you cut out, so I just heard "do you like," but I assume you said gimmicks.
Hi, Megazord. No. Do you like gimmicks?
Sometimes.
Do you like Guzzlord?
Sometimes.
I don't like it either. Do you like Sableye?
Sometimes.
I also like Sableye. So I suggest, how about we use Nasty Plot, Dazzling Gleam, Sableye? Whey! Crabblin as well.
Wait, is Sableye faster than Guzzlord?
You can make it faster than Guzzlord.
I don't really know its speed, because Prankster. Let's see. Base 50. Okay,
55.
Base 50. That could be worse. It is it is faster than Guzzlord's base speed. I've heard worse ideas. Just because, regardless of that, you're still you're gonna want to run what? Nasty Plot, Dazzling Gleam, Recover Wisp, or Recover Shadow Ball?
Yeah, Recover Shadow Ball. It's gonna be Ghostium Z with Dazzle Gleam as coverage.
Okay, I think that might be erring a little too far on the side of just it Guzz just to be a gimmick thing, but at the same time, you're still going to be able to spam recover and like beat things like Primeape. And it does also beat Girder, like not necessarily better than its utility set, but it's like it still beats Girder. So that's also a big thing. So at least I don't it definitely sacrifices like beating some stuff and like its utility for, its Wisp utility. It won't beat some stuff, but it doesn't lose out on everything. And that makes me feel a little bit better about it. So I can see it not being the worst.
Yeah, I'd say it in theory is extremely effective as being like a thing on offense, like as a spin blocker. Like you can bring it in, just start spamming recover, and then click like Ghostium Z Shadow Ball and what have you to like do damage to spin blockers or spinners. Sorry. So it's quite useful in that regard, and often because like Sableye is so much for free switching, people will just switch in without even thinking about it nowadays, given that Nightshade is so like common. So yeah, and then they get hit by the nasty plot or what have you, and the max speed, and it's pretty lethal.
Hang on. You're running Ghostium, which means no boosting item. Let me Sableye, 252 Modest, Dazzling Gleam, +2 versus a Guzzlord.
So I really hope I don't get embarrassed.
Assault Vest. 0. Okay, if it's 0/0 Assault Vest, Dazzling Gleam is a 56.3% chance to OHKO, and a guaranteed OHKO after rocks. But let's just say it's max HP Assault Vest and no Spadef, which isn't even optimal. That's not even optimal. Yeah, that's a 68% chance to OHKO after rocks. Let's say it's like max Spadef Assault Vest with no HP. That's not killing after rocks. Still, Guz isn't the kind of Pokemon to always be at full health or always run Assault Vest. So yeah, that mostly works. Yeah. Okay. Thank you for that delightful gimmick. And with that, I think that's about our hour here.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. So thanks guys for listening. Good luck in Open if you're still in that. Next week we'll be recapping some of this quick band stuff as well as the finals of PUPL. Good luck to both teams.
I'll be angry if we don't win. Just saying.
And yeah, we'll talk to you guys next week.